taking on bureaucrats and corporations that would stand in the way of health freedom. Here's Robert.
Very exciting month here at the Robert Scott Bell Show. Been invited to speak at the AutismOne conference. First time. I've been wanting to go for many years, and I am honored to be invited to do so. And we're going to be highlighting and spotlighting a lot of great people that will be there in Chicago, Lombard, Illinois. That's May 23rd through the 27th. Coming up very quickly here. And to celebrate, first off, we are going to Kerri Rivera. She's in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, and she'll be up at AutismOne. Been there a number of years speaking as well. And we've got the show notes you see at robertscottbell.com linked up to her, I would say, clinic and all the things that she does over in Mexico, AutismO2.com, linked up in the blog notes today at robertscottbell.com. Kerri, welcome to the Robert Scott Bell Show.
Thanks for having me.
Now, Kerri, what is it that brought you into the realm of the autism spectrum, so to speak? Many parents were brought in because of the damage that was done to their children by vaccines. Do you have a similar story?
I do, unfortunately, have a similar story.
So tell us a little bit about what happened when and how you became awakened to other ways by which we could restore these children that have been damaged.
Well, having lived in Mexico, pretty much nothing of information was getting down here back then. And finally, a friend of mine told me that there was this woman that had started an early autism center in Toronto, Canada, and that she knew a lot about autism. And so she told me about the biomedical, that autism, where it came from, what happened, because here they had us spinning our heads around thinking that it was just because our child was born into a bilingual home that he was all these strange things, and that he, the changes that happened. So anyway, that's kind of what led me, that began at least the course of action to recovering our son.
Kerri, they actually said because your child was born in a bilingual home, that's pretty much what caused the autism?
No, they were just giving different excuses as to why he was the way he was. So there was really no diagnosis coming. And some people were even saying, oh, well, just because he's not talking anymore doesn't mean that, he won't start up, around 5, because Beethoven and Einstein, and, they gave every other possible ridiculous story. So
were you at that time in Mexico or in the States?
In Mexico.
Okay, so they're obviously then outside of the so-called borders of this pharmaceutical industrial complex nation that we have become. Mexico also impacted by the vaccine insanity.
Oh, of course. We're very well vaccinated in Mexico, very well vaccinated country. You cannot go to school if you don't have vaccines.
Do they provide for any religious exemption like we have at least here in America in most states?
No, they do not.
Oh, it's even more horrific than I imagined.
It's awful. Latin America is so well vaccinated. It's horrific. And of course, when I looked up the information about vaccines, when the whole thimerosal thing came out.
Yes.
And they started to do thimerosal-free vaccines in the U.S. What were they going to do with the thimerosal vaccines? They were selling them to Latin American countries because we don't have any statistics on autism, and we're not, saying that there's been no claims made about autism vaccine connection. So they can sell them freely because they're not having the same problems.
Yeah.
Kind of a catch-22 situation there.
Sure. We call that the therapy-naive export. It's kind of like the vaccine industrial and medical industrial and pharmaceutical industrial complexes said, wait, these Americans are starting to catch on. We better do our experiments elsewhere. And they start sending them to other countries that aren't up on this issue. Although I will say that even the thimerosal-free vaccines now are identified and acknowledged to also have still some level of thimerosal and mercury. So we're not out of the woods simply because somebody said, well, we greened our vaccines. I dispute the potential for doing that, but that's another story. Now, Kerri, you've established a place in Puerto Vallarta in Mexico that people can come, probably are coming from all over the world, that is looking at autism perhaps differently than the traditional allopathic medical community.
Correct. They do come from a majority of Latin America or Spanish-speaking countries. We have a lot of patients from Spain as well, and they do their hyperbarics with us because it's very difficult to get hyperbaric centers to treat children with autism in the earlier years. Now we're able to help them and get them the information and the pressures and stuff so they can actually treat the children there. But people come from Canada and the U.S. as well.
All right. Well, that's good news. Now, as far as stories, how about your own son? What kind of recovery did you see from the primary ways the autism was identified, and then your discovery that what was really happening and what you had to do to try and recover here?
Well, the thing is, every year that passes, it seems like there's more information that comes, and the more you open yourself up to the possibilities of other things being the problem. I remember when we first started with autism, it was, the diet, and there was heavy metals, because that was sort of more the 2004, 2005. It was definitely the Dr. Buttar and his DMPS creams and stuff. So there was a lot of fashion in autism recovery as well. Mm-hmm. And we didn't do very well at those points because those things didn't recover children with autism. I really don't think many children were recovering at that point. And so we went along the ways and didn't get all that much recovery. But what I did notice with Patrick, there were 3 really important things in our lives. When we started the diet, he got 3 words back. As soon as we took out the gluten and the casein, he recovered 3 words. Then 2 years later, we did hyperbarics, and then he started to say words. And then I started the MMS, and the sentences became clearer. So these were very important steps towards recovery, and they were making sense because Dr. AutismOne in 2007 gave us the biofilm piece. And when we understand what the biofilm is and how important the biofilm is to, when you get rid of it, it's really important for the body because you're getting rid of virus, bacteria, candida, and heavy metals all in one fell swoop. And so that piece is why the MMS works, because it's a chlorine dioxide. It oxidizes pathogens, and that biofilm is full of pathogens. And once you kill the pathogens, the biofilm falls out.
Yes, and by the way, we acknowledge Dr. Buttar's good work, too, because he was more comprehensive than just the transdermal DMPS. He talks about diet, lifestyle, detoxification, the microbial burden as well. We're expanding the knowledge here. We're talking with Kerri Rivera, and she has a clinic down in Mexico that does the hyperbaric oxygen as well as the MMS, as well as dietary shifts, which we know this is a comprehensive issue. It's not one thing. It's everything that has to be addressed. I've been utilizing silver hydrosol to address microbial burden as well as the biofilms. There are a number of ways to go, and here we are at the AutismOne where we will be together in Chicago. And I think this is an amazing opportunity for people to come together and talk about the many different things that are working and how to integrate them all so that we get, whether it be starting at 10% success, getting ever closer to 100% success, which is what we'd like to see in recoveries.
Right, exactly. And I think that's why I get out of bed every day, is just to get that. There's pieces out there. And I think that if we can even, for instance, I have a couple of people that are really important in my life, and they're important in my life because they're helping me to understand better how we can heal more of our children. And I think the reason my son has not recovered has everything to do with the fact that I need to keep looking, because we all need to be part of the recovery puzzle. And I think that a lot of the answers are going to lie in people that are actually more like scientists than necessarily an allopathic doctor. And they're going to have parts of the puzzle that we need. Andreas Kalker and his wife Miriam have been very instrumental with the piece of parasites that we're using, the diatomaceous earth, and we're using NEM and things of that nature to get at the actual parasites. These are worms, and they're really a problem as well. So, little bits and pieces of people that we can get to add into our ever-growing knowledge of what it is and how to cure it.
Well, our goal here is to do all of that in the least possibly invasive means, least possible toxic means, etc. Even though we acknowledge there are sometimes that doctors will have to resort to things we don't really like, the perspective is we've got to weigh all of those things out in terms of the entire recovery, and also the fact that we do know what to do to recover from some level of toxic influx should it be a life-saving necessity, so to speak. But there are many ways to go before resorting to some of these methods, so it sounds like you guys are really working hard to uncover them.
We are, and I have, like I said, I never asked to be the smartest. I just would like to be lucky and have the best people around me to help us to really figure out what it is that's going to heal our children.
Yeah. So if people are interested in coming down to see you in Puerto Vallarta, what kind of experience would they be getting? Are there medical doctors on staff that are sympathetic and work holistically? Is it all PhD researchers, or they're nutritionists? What kind of array of program and protocol would they expect if they came down with their children?
Well, in my clinic, I don't typically have a lot of people coming to the clinic directly. My clinic has it's a not-for-profit as well as a hyperbaric chamber that is supposed to give money towards the not-for-profit, although most doctors in Vallarta are not using a hyperbaric chamber, so my chamber sits empty a lot of the times, and so that really doesn't give us money to actually put children in not-for-profit. Kids that I treat around Latin America will fly in, or even the States or U.S., because the chamber session is $100 for a true hard chamber. So we're doing 1.75 atmospheres for the kids with the autism spectrum disorders. And it's, it's a half the price that it is in the U.S. to do it here, and the hotels are relatively inexpensive, and you're on the beach. So it's kind of a nice experience for the families, and they can get everything done for a fraction of the cost. But most of what I do online. There's a Facebook group right now of 350 families that just started up about maybe 80 days ago. So we're actually clipping along pretty well. And most of the stuff is just people can buy the things online, and I explain to them how to use them, because they're pretty much doing it in their house, and what they describe to me helps me to tell them, how to move it, because I've been using it for the last almost 2 years, and I think probably 2,000 or so children have taken the chlorine dioxide.
Well, you are empowering people to take care of themselves in places where they have little or no access. Yeah, this is exciting.
Absolutely. Yeah. Power to the people. We have to take our children's health back. If we keep turning it over to somebody else, they're not going to ever get well, and we haven't learned the lesson. We have to help our children. We have to be managing their recovery.
Mm-hmm. Well, while we recognize there are people that are aghast hearing this, and not so much in the Robert Scott Bell Show audience, but it's like, wait, you want people to care for themselves? Yes, we do, because those who have turned their lives over to the medical profession have literally succumbed to the assault in terms of the autism spectrum. So why would we look to the same profession necessarily that caused the problem to solve it? Yes, we know there are doctors that have outgrown their limited training or their horse blinders, but at the same time, we have to empower people to get well. That's the whole message of this show as we talk about the power to heal is yours. It's not just a slogan, it's reality, and it sounds like Kerri is actually living up to that ideal, and I'm very excited to connect with you.
And I invite parents to come with me and to learn. And I can't work with parents that won't go ahead, and I'll say, look, go watch this video, because Andreas Kalker, he's a scientist, and he presents the science very basically in English and in Spanish. He speaks 6 languages, and he's got nice videos on YouTube, and they're very, you do not have to be a genius to understand the science, because he makes it so well digested for us to just be able to pick it up and utilize it. I have them go and watch that. I want my parents to be the most informed. So when someone walks into them and says, oh, that stuff's bleach, kill your kid with it, they're going to be like, no, here's the deal. It's an oxidative blah, blah, and explains the whole thing. So I think that's a really important thing to have the parents have the knowledge, and they know what they're doing. I can't tell you so many times, early on in my son's recovery, that I would just, bring all this stuff home and just start, injecting him or feeding him things. And I really didn't know what I was doing. Again, I was trusting and that sort of thing. So as time goes on, and some of us moms that were veterans out there, because I've been in the recovery of my son for the last 8 years, and there's a lot of us moms that are out there that were veterans of recovery.
Yes.
And at certain points, and I see some of the moms with the 13 to 16 to 18-year-old kids, and they're the ones who've really started, the ones that are still in recovery and they're still getting improvements with their children. They're the ones that have really taken control of it, and they're the ones that are managing their children's recovery. And I power to them, and I these are the people that I want to work with, and these are the people that I want to help, because they want to help their child and they want to take care of themselves. And it's interesting too, the parents are pretty healthy. A lot of my parents are gluten-free. A lot of my, they don't do dairy. They take the same supplements their kids do, or they try the treatments first. So those are the people that I really love to work with.
Well, great. Well, listen, I want to hold you on for another segment if you don't mind, because I want to talk more about what's upcoming at AutismOne for all of those that have heard about it, never been, or if you're just hearing about it for the first time. You'll get to meet Kerri and so many other wonderful people there in Chicago, Lombard, Illinois, May 23rd through 27th. We'll talk more about it on the other side of this break. Very exciting news, very empowering news here on the Robert Scott Bell Show.
The Robert Scott Bell Show.
We interrupt our program to bring you a special broadcast.
Robert.
He is tenacious, isn't he?
Scott.
He's a brave and a decent man. He's a pioneer.
Bell.
This message must be read in every newspaper, heard on every radio, seen on every television.
The Robert Scott Bell Show.
The Robert Scott Bell Show will be live and recording all the way through the AutismOne Conference, May 23rd through 27th in Chicago, Lombard, Illinois. Very excited to connect with all of those people in that in the realm of autism spectrum. We're always so sad about what has happened to the kids, but always so, let's say, inspired by your story, Kerri. We're talking with Kerri here, Rivera. She's in Puerto Vallarta, and she has AutismO2.com. We've got those linked up, and all of the YouTube links that she sent me, we've got those linked up in the blog as well. And I want to hear more about what's going on up there. Very excited to connect. You've been a number of years, and you're coming back with great passion and enthusiasm.
I'm excited because I've seen in the last 20 months that I haven't been to AutismOne because I started school and my exam fell at the same time last year as the conference did, so I wasn't able to attend. But one of the things that I really want to impress, because I have a mom who said, I really want to meet you, Kerri, but I think I'm going to fly to Vallarta. And I said, you know what, go to AutismOne. And I think one of the most important things for us is to stay full. And other moms like us, and going to a place where we're not the people with the third eye. We're the parents, that we got the short stick and now we're working through it and we're trying to find answers. And together we're going to be able to do that. But we need to get there. There'll be some crying. There's going to be a lot of laughing. There's going to be hugging. There's going to be a lot of camaraderie. A lot of us know each other through the internet. And these are all times to come together, because at the end of the line, if you feel like you're accompanied in life, and because human beings, we're pack animals, we need to be with others, and when we can actually be in this same group, it is really important for us morally, because our kids need us, and our kids need us to find a way to take care of ourselves and to fill ourselves. And this is a really good excuse to do it. And of course, now I think it's even free to go to AutismOne. I don't know what the costs are, but pretty much if you can get there, it is so worth going to.
Now I'm thinking in terms of the families out there that may have been isolated, shunned, sometimes even attacked by the medical profession because of what they're identifying and stating. This seems to me an ideal opportunity to meet people such as yourself who have kids that have been through this and are coming out of it, perhaps others that have successfully. Maybe you can even meet kids that have been down this road. And I've got to imagine this has got to be life-affirming and energizing for those who have been beaten up by all of these experiences.
Because you can even start doubting yourself. I know at one point I was thinking, maybe I missed it. Maybe he was not okay when he was born, and maybe all that smiling and eye contact was just my imagination, or, you know what I mean? You start to look at the neurotypical development, kind of cross-eyed, thinking, well, maybe they're right. If enough people tell you a lie, you start to believe it. And when you go there and you see all these families that are affected by this, and, everyone's story is so similar. There's, a few cases of parents that say that their child never had a vaccine. Typically, there's a lot of the Rh negative, that type of thing, injections to the pregnant mother. But even so, however the child got the autism, still you're there, and still everybody is kind of confirming that we have a problem. There, it isn't just in your house, and because in your neighborhood, like I'm the only person with a child with autism of the people that I know in my town. So it's kind of like, gosh, what's wrong with me? And where's that 100? Where's the other 88 kids?
Mm-hmm. Now, what other kind of things? Of course, there's doctors going to be speaking there. I believe Dr. Andrew Wakefield will be there. It's an amazing array of speakers. It's great. But outside of the traditional things that people expect when they go to a conference like this, are there any unusual kind of things where families can get together, moms can get together, things like that are unique to this event?
Well, there is a dad's night, and there's this wonderful fella, David Jeslick. I think I just did a mess with his name. It's like Gelsak. And he organizes. He's a great guy. He works with kids with autism. He does like physical stuff, and his degree is in sport medicine. And a great guy, but he's also a guy's guy, so he gets the dads together. And that's a really nice thing, because I think a lot of times the dads, moms, we know each other on Facebook, but dads go to work every day, and their pump and grind is different than ours. So that's a really nice thing. They have spa night for the moms. They have a big gala dinner where, all the meet and greet with the Wakefield and all that is happening on Saturday night. And then, of course, just being with the moms all day long. And there's usually some wine being had after the conference ends at the day in the bar in the hotel. So there's a little bit of something for everybody.
This is fascinating. Like I said, I'm very excited to be part of this, and looking forward to learn more about what you're offering as well, and getting people plugged in from all over planet Earth that listen to the Robert Scott Bell Show of new options. So in addition, as you said, to some people that do come and get the hyperbaric oxygen, a lot of times you're interacting with people all over the world via Skype and helping them out that way.
Right. I do a lot of emailing. That's my biggest thing. And then, of course, I do conferences. I just got back the 2nd of April from Puerto Rico. I leave for AutismOne the end of this month. I have a conference in Venezuela. So it just depends on when. But I like to do conferences because that way you can reach a lot of people in a short time. And then, of course, the people that are really serious and really want to keep on going, they reach out to you via internet. And so between emails and Facebook and Skype, we're able to do a lot of things. And then if people really feel the urge to come here, which is really not necessary because the kids start doing well. Mm-hmm. I mean, the only thing you're missing when somebody comes to the clinic, for instance, is, you see the child. But that doesn't really tell us all that much. And even if you were to run labs, that still doesn't always tell us all that much. We kind of need to start working on the child, get the diet going. How are they responding? Then we start treating the pathogens. How are they responding? We put in a few supplements. So we kind of go like that. It's one step at a time. Although, as like a marathon, we don't run like, hell on wheels for the first, a few miles, and then we're drained. We need to just clip along at a really nice pace. And that way the children are able to recover without the stress of killing off the pathogens, and the parents start to see it. And I mean, there's parents right now in that Facebook group that I was telling you about. They're in Ireland and Australia, and they're all over the place. But, in India, there's a few moms from India, and we're all using the same stuff. And there's a lot of sharing, and the documents are up in the Facebook group. And, so the idea of coming to see somebody or going to see somebody really isn't that necessary.
Well, and we don't want to dissuade you from enjoying the beach at Puerto Vallarta, but as you say, if it's not necessary, it's not necessary. Again, there are a lot of people that are strapped economically in these times, also even more so because of having to deal with all of the things associated with having a child that's in that autism spectrum, vaccine damage or otherwise. So this is, again, exciting to learn about this and to see what you're doing and empowering people to get well. And I look forward to meeting you in person at AutismOne. We're going to have a great time, it sounds like.
Oh, we're going to have a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
Well, all the links are up to AutismO2.com. It's mostly in Spanish, so if you don't speak Spanish, don't worry. Like I said, all of the links are there, including to a YouTube, but you also have some English options.
They can email me also at my email is Kerri Rivera at yahoo.com. And then very soon, very, very soon, within the next 30 days, hopefully, the MMSautism.com website will be up, and that'll have all the documents for the protocols with the MMS and the supplements that we use and the supplements we don't use, the foods we use, the foods we don't use, and the parasite protocols. So that will all be up there, and people can access them. It's all free. And if they have any questions or comments or doubts, they can always email me. I answer my emails.
All right, Kerri Rivera, absolutely sensational. As I said, we are marching towards the AutismOne conference later this month. Everybody get on board, and we'll be having lots of more previews coming, but this is one to launch it. You did terrific, amazing. No slowing down. Your English is better than mine.
I'm from Chicago.
You snuck that in there, did you? I was going to give you more credit, but no, you don't even have the Chicago accent, so very impressive. You've got that so-called radio-neutral voice. Well done.
All right, I'll take over whenever you want to take a break.
All right, good. Now I have someone to sub-host for me when I need a break. This is great. So lots of cool stuff happening here on the Robert Scott Bell Show. Very appreciative of Kerri Rivera. Check out all the links at the show notes at robertscottbell.com. And please pay attention to the spelling of Kerri's name because it's Kerri, even though on the site it'll say Kerry. So Kerri Rivera, Kerri Rivera at AutismO2.com. After this brief break, we're going to be coming back with another shocking story of the agricultural industrial complex, this time in Minnesota, attacking moms who want to feed their babies and their families. You will not believe this, but we've got her coming up. Stand by. Melinda Olson is coming right up.
The Robert Scott Bell Show. Welcome to the United States of Health Talk Radio. Health talk that doesn't suck.